But this kind of comes back to what we've said, or what you...
Oh, it's the cat. Oh. Here he is. Tiger.
Hey. Oh, wow. Is that a little sound effect, John, or was that real?
No, that was real.
Let's stick that in the intro. Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. It's Monday the 19th of January. It's our Q&A episode. I'm your host, Dan Rowlinson, joined by John Townley. John, we'll get straight into it. Your thoughts on Everton, please. Disappointed, angry, frustrated, all of the above?
Wasn't angry. Disappointed, definitely. And frustrated. Yeah. I didn't expect it, to be honest. I really didn't think we would lose. I know that after winning 11 home matches in a row, at some point, there will be a game. I think actually we said this even just a few days ago. We will lose at some point. We will drop points at some point. It's going to happen to every team. It happened to Arsenal, albeit away from home, but they're a team who I think will win the league quite easily in the end. It happens, and it's no easier after it happens, though. And it's really frustrating because that Everton team was a really poor Everton team, in my opinion. They've got some decent players, but they're also missing some of their best ones. And I know we were as well, but our first 11 is much better than the 11 that they put out, and we lost the game and didn't score. So yeah, bitterly frustrating. I can kind of put that result to a side and think, you know what, we've had such a great run. It happens. It is what it is. But my concern is that if you're going to have these injuries at any time in the season, it's not now, and it's not when you got Fenerbache and Newcastle as your next two matches away from home. Yeah. So yeah, bring on what will be another grueling week with a very thin squad.
I'd quite like to just bypass this week and go and hibernate and then come back next week and just deal with the fallout then. I don't really want to, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this will happen.
I mean, you could in theory, Dan. It makes some interesting podcasts.
Yeah, I could disappear for a week. How do I put this without sounding completely negative 2 minutes into this? There's a possibility we lose to Fenerbahce and we lose to Newcastle, potentially quite heavily in one of those games. You know, for example, if we're really depleted against Newcastle and we're tired after Fenerbahce and you've lost that game and you've lost to Everton, you could go to Newcastle and lose 3-0 and be like, whoa, like that's a real kind of culture shock, isn't it? For what we've seen to lose away at Newcastle isn't, but to be so good for 3 months and then to be hit by back-to-back defeats would be like, whoa, like a real shock to the system. I can clip this bit up next Monday, but if we play it, I might think, well, yeah, I kind of could see that coming. I hope I'm massively wrong and could be pleasantly surprised and we win both games, but it feels like we're so stretched at the moment that if we don't get a replacement in for Malen and potentially John McGinn ahead of Newcastle, and that's somebody who can play and start and impact the game, and we're still without Kamara and we're still without Anana, like, that's going to be really, really difficult. And it would take a lot to kind of dig in and get something there at a full strength Aston Villa. So these two games are ones that I feel like I could kind of do without, just come back when things get a little bit easier. But this is the nature of the beast, isn't it? You go through difficult spells sometimes. And I'm not suggesting we just write the games off, but you could definitely have two easier games coming up now in the space of a few days.
Does that make it easier in some ways? To be honest, in my walk tour yesterday, I was saying that after next week, it's nice to have two home games in a week for sure. One of those games might mean very little in terms of that Salzburg match. I mean, I've said it many times. Top two would be a dream scenario, and I keep banging that drum. But knowing the difficulty of winning at Fenerbahce, full stop, let alone without some key players, it almost feels to me like, should we just make change for that game? Not throw it, but realistically, and I've said this a lot, if you don't win both of those games, you may as well only win one. Like the Fenerbahce match is redundant. It doesn't matter, to be perfectly honest. If we don't win both, and Leon or one of Leon and Midtjylland fail to win both as well, it seems like a very tall order. Couple that with injuries, couple that with Newcastle afterwards, plus Emery knows or has said a lot that Premier League is the priority. He wants top 8. Top 2 would be a bonus, but I don't really think he was massively bothered about it. To be honest, after go ahead Eagles, I think that was our life gone, really.
So you would rather make changes to Fenerbahce in the hope that you can beat Newcastle?
Put it this way, if we put out our strongest 11 against Fenerbahce and, run ourselves into the ground, but don't win, that was a pointless exercise, really. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I struggle to see how we can put out our best 11 for Fenerbahce play to the best level that we can, win, and then go to Newcastle and do the same thing. I think it's difficult. So I'm with you, Dan. It's going to be a difficult week, one which I'm already looking a little bit to the week after, where Brentford.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Brentford feels like a bit of a must-win. Not bearing on what happens at Newcastle, just simply because you need to get your home forward back up and running, and you've lost to Everton. You haven't just drawn; you've lost ground. Albeit, well, it's still 9 points or so inside the top 5, but you've lost ground still. So that Brentford match is awfully important, and the Salzburg game. I mean, if we lose to Fenerbahce, we may have to win it or get something out of the match to stay in the top 8. And you want to finish as high as you can, really, in the top 8 positions. But for me, if you don't finish in the top 2, you could finish between 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Like, I'm not really fussed. There are some like permutations around that. You know, you would play, in theory, the better teams if you finish lower down. But really, is there a difference between playing? You know, we saw in the Champions League last season, didn't we? There's not a huge difference. Liverpool played the winners PSG in the first knockout match, so I'm not too fussed about that if we don't beat Fenerbahce. So
we often refer to the Claret and Blue mailbag that we use for the Claret and Blue podcast Q&A and to set the agenda of other episodes as well. There's still some confusion from people on where to find it and how to access it. So I'm going to give you a very quick rundown on how to ask a question for the podcast. In the YouTube description and podcast description on every single episode, there is a line, scroll down, Claret and Blue mailbag, and a link. That link goes out to a Google form. You don't need to sign up. There's no login. There's no password. There's a text box for your question and a text box for your name. Type away your message. Click send. We get those questions into a spreadsheet, and every Monday morning I collate the ones that I think are the most interesting and put them together to discuss with John, Matt, or whoever else. So ask your questions, make them good, make them funny, make them interesting, and we'll discuss as many as we can, as often as we can. It's also in our social media bio, and there's a link tree as well of all the handy links that you need to keep up to date with the Claret and Blue podcast. Right, let's get back to the episode, shall we? We've got off to this podcast to a flying start of a kind of pool of negativity, I guess, but it's very easy to go to that, I think, after a defeat. Now, I'm not going to dwell on it.
It's realistic to the point of like, if we lost the Everton match, but didn't have any injuries and McGinn's still fit and we signed Gallagher, I'd be saying something completely different.
Yeah.
But we know the circumstances that we're in. The fatigue is a real thing. We would have made change yesterday, but we couldn't. It is what it is. Like Fenerbahce and Newcastle away, you can't really pick two worst games for us at the moment.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But it's not to go too far the other way and now think this is Villa's wheels falling off and this is the end of the Emery era because we've lost a game and we're going to probably lose the next two. And if we don't sign play, still loads of football to be played. There's plenty of questions. We're going to get into them straight away. This one's about negativity from Dave. Dan, why are some Villa fans so doom and gloom? And I don't think this is us, by the way. I think there was a much more extreme reaction to what we've had that I've seen online, which I think is way too far. We lose one game and the ceiling caves in. It's not that long ago I was in the Trinity watching us getting spanked 3-0 to Wigan. I don't relate to this negativity. Do you? First 5 minutes or so I might think, yes, these two are too negative.
What's the negativity? Sorry.
The bits I've seen are like, this is going to be a disaster. This is where the wheels fall off. We're going to not finish in the top 5. Do you know what I mean? It goes, we've lost one game.
A lot's been said about how poor we were, and I'd argue we could win that game 8 times out of 10.
Well, we made plenty of chances, didn't
we? We've been the first to say, and fans as well, that we haven't been blowing teams away. We've been getting through games, be it through some stunning goals, but more often than not, we've deserved to win the game. And had we won yesterday, we'd have deserved to win the game. Like, I'm really not in that sort of camp. I heard you and Matt talk about the performance, and I agree it wasn't our best, but I don't think it was our worst. And I think at the end of the day, the chances that we made, if Rodgers is a bit more calmer in front of goal, we probably win the match. If Jericho O'Brien didn't clear one off the line, we win the match. If Garner was sent off as he should have been, we win the match. I think all those things are true. So I'm not majorly, the performance is what it is. We've got a big buffer inside the top 5, and the reason why you have those buffers is that when you do lose your winning run, it's okay, and it is okay. We're more than comfortable in there. But the problem, and the reason why I guess this podcast has started as how it has, is that we can only talk about our feelings. We're losing players. They're dropping like flies. We're having injuries. We can't get players in. Up until now, we haven't had any players coming through the door, apart from obviously Alisson and Madra, who didn't even play yesterday. So That's the reason why we feel like we do. I don't think it's negativity into certainly me and you. We're not saying, oh no, this is where we fall off and we're going to be in real trouble. I don't think that at all.
No.
But what I do think is that it will be harder in the coming days and weeks. That's the reality of how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two here I'm going to do together. Firstly, from Nervous Nigel. Is Dan still 100% confident we get Champions League? We're 7 points off 6th place ahead of Newcastle.
I bet Nigel isn't.
And if you look at the attacking talent in the Man United and Chelsea squads, it's miles ahead of what we have. I'd love to think you're right, but I really don't think it's settled at all. It's not settled, obviously. No, it's mathematically until it's done. It's not done. That is how it works. But I still feel maybe 99%, right?
Oh, he's trembling.
Ask me in a couple of Mondays' times after Newcastle and Brentford. I'm still, yes, confident we can finish in the Champions League places. Birchie70 says, last year we were only a goal difference away from Champions League. 1 goal's difference, sorry. This year we're in a much better position. What do we need to get us over the line? Some additions in January, first of all, same as last year. 6 or 7 more wins, I think would probably do it. Maybe 8, maybe 9. There's still plenty of games to play. Plenty of those are at home. I said this on the post-match as well last night, but I'm fully aware many people will have skipped that episode. You can probably fashion this in whichever way you want of combining different games, but we all expected, or I expected us to lose to Man United at home, and we beat them. And I probably would have expected us to beat Everton, and we lost. Put 3 points down next to those 2 games, and that's what we've got. If it was the other way around and we'd lost to United and beat Everton, would I be stood here now going, don't think we'll get Champions League? We're exactly, out of those 2 games, we're exactly where I expect us to be. It's just come the other way around. So I'm now not going to go completely the other way and say, oh yeah, you know what, I think we'll finish 6th or 7th. The points gap that we've got allows us to do what we did yesterday, and we don't really feel it. If the points gap we built up was 3 points, then yeah, it's nothing. It's 1 game. It was 11 or 12 points. It's now 9 or whatever. Okay. That's still pretty good. That still allows us to lose brilliant. 3 more games before we can be overtaken. 3 more games losing. If we lost the next 3, yeah, different. But I'd like to think we lose 3 more games over the course of like a 7 or 8 game period. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when we lose, we tend to bounce back. You would say that. It's 1 win in 4 league games. Is that right? So Arsenal, Forest, Palace, Everton, which on the face of it isn't very good, to be perfectly honest, because you're looking at Palace and they're in turmoil, to be honest. Everton and Forest at home, you'd want to win both of those matches.
Yeah.
But then we've won, 8 league games before Arsenal in a row, 11 at home. So it's not you take that as one and think, oh, that's not great. But then it's okay because of the points you've built up. Now it's about, what does 1 win in 4 turn into? Is that 1 win in 5? Is it 6? Is it 2 wins in 7? Like, you don't want that to increase, if that makes sense. You need to try and get those wins back together. And as I've said a few times, if we play that Liverpool game later this season, hopefully before a final in Istanbul, and there's something on the match, we've probably slipped up a fair bit beforehand. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if that happened. Not being negative, but we've just seen that in the space of a week, you can lose players quickly. European football knockouts are coming. This feels very similar to me to that season that we had 2 years ago when we finished 4th, but gassed out against Olympiacos and just about got over the line, which is still a remarkable achievement. And if we do that again, it's successful in the league. But that's how it feels to me. And those are the kind of feelings I have of we've done fantastic. But it's very easy for doubt to kind of creep in. And I'm not saying that I'm doubting. Yeah. I think we will finish in the top 5, top 4, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And I think we will go far in the Europa League. I hope we win it, but I can't say that we will because I got nothing to go off in my lifetime that we've won a trophy. So
also, we all look to February, right? Of like, well, Palace in away, Newcastle away. They're going to be difficult games in January. Once you get to February, get some additions in, some winnable games there.
Yeah.
Like I know we've lost players since we said that, but we can still win those games. You could still win 5 out of 5 in February.
Honestly, it's all about how you respond. That's the point. But it just feels like it's not totally up to us how we respond because of the injuries we have. We can't help it if our players are knackered. Do you know what I mean? Those things are true. So the one thing I would look at is that after Newcastle, we have, I think it's 5 of the 6 games at home, including Newcastle in the Cup as well. But building momentum. I know we just lost at home, but we know that we're very strong. We've only lost to 3 teams, haven't we, since the start of last season at Villa Park. So for that reason, if you're going to have lots of home matches after that Newcastle away trip at the end of the week, essentially, let's get Fenerbahce and Newcastle out of the way. What happens, happens. It won't define our season. I don't think it will.
No, I agree.
But what happens after that will, I think. 5 out of 6 at home. Bournemouth away as well, which on paper may look tricky, but a team who I don't think are particularly great at the moment. And we've got a decent record at the Vitality. That feels like a good opportunity. Maybe to not win 6 out of 6, but if you can win 4 out of 6, maybe you win your home games, but you don't beat Leeds. And after that match, you feel a bit disappointed because you haven't won. But you can look back at the end of that run and think, but we have churned out a lot of wins here. And with a couple of months of the season remaining, we're in a really strong position. That's what we want. What we don't want is this to continue where we're picking up injuries and fatigue's kicking in and there's a bit of sort of negativity flying around because we haven't had the window that we wanted. All of those things we'll find out, but I think that's unlikely. I think we'll end the window with a group of players that we're happy with. We'll have players back eventually. We'll see what happens with McGinn and Kamara in the coming days. But yeah, it's hard to feel too positive after losing to Everton, even when you look at the table.
Just scanning back to the year that we finished in the top 4, obviously at the moment, played 22, 43 points, 3rd place. I wanted to look ahead to game week 28, which will be 6 more matches, which takes you up to Wolves away in the league. So you got Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Leeds, Wolves, 6 more games. That takes us to match week 28. We had 55 points after 28 games in the year that we finished 4th, and Tottenham were just behind us on 53, and Man United 47 in 6th. So a 2-point gap to the team in 5th place. 2 things for me. I think for us to get to 55 points, the same as the year we qualified for the top 4, we would need to win 4 out of those 6 games. That's including Newcastle. So you could lose to Newcastle and then still find another 4 wins in the following 5 games and be where you were in the year that you qualified for the top 4. So you'd be tracking the same kind of points total. What I think would be different this year, and we will know in 6 games time whether I'm correct or not, is I think we'll have more than a 2-point gap to the team behind us because we've already got such a gap now, right? So if we win 4 of the next 6 in the league, not only will we be on course for the same amount of points we got in the year we qualified for the top 4 and should therefore do it again this year, it'll be a much bigger points gap than 2 to the team in 5th place. So it allows us to have a fall off worse than we had in the year we qualified for the top 4. So that point makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, yeah. Those things. I think the next 6 games, so you went to match week 28, right?
Yeah, it's a Wolves away.
Yeah, I think that's a really sort of wise timeline to look at the next 6 games because we then host Chelsea after that 6, and Chelsea, for my money, have probably got on paper the easiest games coming up. So while we can look at Brentford at home and Brighton at home, Leeds at home and Wolves away, I mean, Wolves have picked up, to be fair, in terms of performances, but some opportunities to win games, Bournemouth away as well, as I say. There's points in there for us if we play well. Chelsea's games, Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home, Burnley at home.
The points there for Chelsea as well.
There's definitely points there for Chelsea. You would obviously argue, well, we've got a buffer on them anyway, but then hosting them at Villa Park in a midweek match. After that, they play Arsenal before we play them. It feels like, well, if we can get through the next 6, like you say there, Danny, get through February with a good points total and then play Chelsea, and if we can beat them, or just to even avoid defeat, we should be ahead of them still come the start of March and should hopefully have a buffer, right? Man United as well. We should still have a buffer to those teams. If we don't have a buffer to those teams after February, the wheels probably have fallen off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And by then, I would not be saying 100% for Champions League. I'd still be relatively confident, but I couldn't say, 100%. If we look at those 6 games there, including Newcastle, maybe take out Newcastle and look at the 5. If you don't see...
You want 12 points from that at least.
3 or 4 wins at least.
You need 12 points from at least, yeah.
If we don't see 3 or 4 wins from that 5, we've massively fallen off. If we only win 2 out of the 5 against those opponents, with 4 of them being at home, that's a massive drop-off. Yeah. And if Chelsea in that time have been winning games and then come to Villa Park and beat us, that points gap has then been squandered. And all the good work we've done over the first half of the season has basically been for nothing. If that happens, it's a completely different conversation. But I'm not going to worry about that scenario happening until it starts to unfold before us, we may beat Newcastle at the weekend and surprise everybody and be absolutely on track again. We might sign somebody at the back end of January that makes a real difference. This is what the unknown is that we're still working in. So I'm not going to change my prediction that we're going to finish in the Champions League, but ask me again at the start of March, and yeah, things may be different. Naturally, it's 6 weeks away.
Yeah, I think we'll finish the Champions League as well. But it's, I guess, you're trying to piece together, well, what does losing to Everton mean? But also losing the players that we've lost as well. That will only be seen in the future. So we can only kind of give hypotheticals, but at least we can kind of give some sort of substance to it.
It's my rationale for why I'm relatively calm about we lost the game and I'm annoyed at it. I'm annoyed at every game we lose, but I'm not panicking of, is this the moment we fall apart?
And Villa...
no.
I didn't want to say this at the start, I'll say it now. We could lose to Fenerbahce and... I did say... We could lose to Fenerbahce and Newcastle. Like, worst case scenario, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think we'll lose both. But if that happens, again, our season's not defined. It will be then defined after Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Leeds and Wolves. That's when you pick up your wins. Even if you beat Newcastle, you're still going to have to try and get wins out of that period of games.
Yeah, of course.
As I say, before then hosting Chelsea. And then I think it's an FA Cup
as well.
I think it's an FA Cup weekend after Chelsea, where we play Newcastle. Maybe I can't remember.
It'll be the later rounds by then.
It'll be the round after that, won't it? So we should hopefully be playing in the FA Cup after then anyway. But the point being, that's what I'm looking at, and all of that I'm pretty certain is before the Europa League knockouts as well. So
and you could also go one further to West Ham at home on the 21st of March before the international break. I feel like Villa should, if they're going to qualify for the Champions League, I think we should pretty much know that whether we're going to do it by that international break, because you don't have loads of games after that anyway. Was it seven league games by game week 31 and that final international break? I'd like to think top four is pretty much wrapped up if we continue the form that we expect to.
Yeah, if we can continue the form. But what we will know is I think we'll have clarity over, okay, we need to win 4 games or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And that'll be a nice place to be. And, continue watching this video. But for me, I just think it's what will happen. But the next 6 are really, really important for where we go in this season. But I'll take it a step further and say that whatever happens this week, let's not lose our heads or panic. Even if injuries are occurring, it's the 5 games after Newcastle, really, for me, that are the ones where that will decide where we're going to be come that international break. Like you say, they're done. And as I say, I'd love to be in a position where you've got a buffer against Chelsea, a strong one as well, like we have now. And then you have a chance to play them at home and essentially win that game to finish above them that season. Let's be honest. Because if you do, it's going to take something almighty for them to finish above us and something pretty calamitous for us to finish below them. And that would be one of the teams who I think can finish in the top 5, eliminated for us. Our opponents in the top 5 kind of sphere are Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and Newcastle. You'd put in there as well, I suppose, because those are the teams that have got those points. With respect to Brentford, even though they can come to Villa Park and have a chance against us, I'm not sure that they'll be there come the end of the season.
Okay, let's move on to some transfer-related questions then. First one from Yakuba Silla. Thoughts on Weston McKennie or Danny Ceballos? We revisited Gallagher from 2024, and we've been linked to those both previously as well. John, do you want to give a bit of a transfer roundup, transfer update? Where are we as of Monday morning?
As of Monday morning, Villa are trying to obviously bring players in. It's obviously until now proven difficult. We know obviously a forward will be coming in. Hopefully that's Tammy, and hopefully that's soon. Villa need bodies in soon.
They need that forward before Newcastle.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I would say about a midfielder, I don't think we need one. And I say that in relation to the rules. I don't think we can just bring in another midfielder and pay their wages without one going. And if that's Barkley, then okay. I'd get it then. But even Barkley, do we need to replace Barkley when you have George Hemmings? Do you know what I mean? I just, knowing the position Villa are in financially, and again, regarding the rules, I don't think we are in a position to just stock another midfielder when you have, in a fit team, Kamara, Tielemans, John McGinn, Lamar Bogard, Ross Barkley, / for me, George Hemmings now. I think he should be the successor to Ross Barkley rather than paying a big wage or a transfer fee for a player. That's 6 or 7 players there that you can use. Do you have to bring in another one to make that 7 or 8 for 2 positions?
That decision will only be informed by how severe the injuries are. if they know Kamara and McGinn might miss, let's say, 3 months, you have to sign somebody. They will have to sacrifice somebody.
I think alone then.
Position. Yeah.
Alone. But I'm just what I'm saying. I'm reluctant to just all of a sudden now think, oh, we need to sign a midfielder for X amount of money. We don't have that money. We're under.
I think it would be a loan. Yeah,
it would have to be. We're under financial pressure, but also literal like punishment from UEFA that we have to have a transfer, a positive net transfer balance. There's a lot going on that's stopping Villa at the moment, so I don't think it's as easy as just saying, okay, bring them in. So yeah, obviously we went for Gallagher, which would have been a loan with obligation. So it would surely have to be a loan if we're going to do that. And if so, then then okay. I was talking more about a permanent. Don't just bring someone in for the sake of it. Make sure it's the right player and make sure it's the right deal as well. But we know obviously a forward's really important. But yeah, I expect Villa to bring in at least one player. I think ideally you'd bring in a couple. Because you do want depth. Like I'd rather have a midfielder on loan, but as I said, you want it to be the right one and not someone that's a panic buy.
I'm going to link in a couple of, like a little Crystal Palace section actually. Firstly from Claret Cal. City have signed Mark Gahey for 20 million and he's only 25. What are your thoughts on him at that price? And should Villa have taken a punt at getting him for that price, even though he's probably always going to choose Man City? Well, he will be on a ridiculous package, won't he, Gahey?
And he is.
In terms of wages.
300k, isn't it? Smart.
Is it as high as 300?
That's what I've seen, yeah.
I like Gahey. He's a great player and a good age and a good fit, I think. But 300k plus all the bonuses, the agents, massive package, despite the transfer fee being relatively low, I think, even though his contract does run out in the summer. So yeah, Villa are never going to be in that market, unfortunately.
No.
That big sigh from John tells you everything.
No, never.
No. Thoughts on Mateta, says Phil Sharp's head injury. Phil Sharp, of course it did. Presumably the asking price will be too high, but Glasner has said that if the deal is right and Mateta wants it, he can go. With Gahey and Glasner both leaving the club, this seems to be the start of a potential downfall for Palace. Fingers crossed. Sorry, Palace fans. And I feel as though Mateta's profile and hold-up play could be a great signing for Emery to work with if the price is right. Assuming, of course, we didn't sign another striker. I don't mind Mateta as a profile for Villa specifically under Emery. I think that would also be a good fit. I always watch him and think he doesn't look like a footballer. I think he just has that vibe about him. And he's very frustrating to play against and has a good record against Villa. So there is a few kind of green flags for him. Away from all that, though, what kind of figure are Palace wanting, particularly in January, if this is the start of Palace's downfall and Glasner goes in the summer, Gahey's already gone, Eze's gone in the summer, Mateta as well now. If they are to do that, surely they're going to want more money than Villa would ever be able to pay.
I think Juventus are the team who are pushing to sign him, but I think it's a loan with an obligation, but Palace want an upfront fee, obviously. I think he wants to play in Italy anyway, Mateta. I think he wants a bit of a, but like a fresh start, but he wants to play for
Italy as well.
Yeah, I think he wants to play one of the super clubs, essentially. Would he play well for Villa? Absolutely. But what's he asking for in terms of wages and again the deal and the expense? It's crap. I'm a slave to the rules at the moment, and so are Villa. It's just depressing. Like I saw Emery's interview yesterday that he obviously spoke about when he just didn't say anything. I think that's how we all feel. Like
I was going to mention this. It's not one of the questions, but a lot of the stuff we had in the mailbag was about PSR and the rules and why do we do this? Why have we signed these youngsters if we can't spend and blah, blah, blah. We've answered a few of these things in previous episodes, and there will have been a clip at the start of this episode about how to access the mailbag. I finally kind of shared that with everybody who was confused about it. I opened it up. I copied and pasted the ones I wanted to discuss into a separate document. So I've got it all in front of me. It's in order. I've got everyone's names. It's all organised. And I started to copy and paste over some of the PSR ones, and I just thought, you know what? I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do it again. Like I'm so fed up about the whole situation. That clip of that manager rapidly falling out of love with the game. That's how I feel about it. I know, but
I think our sort of hate for it. It's there. It's always there. But we're winning games, so it's kind of like, but we're coping well. But it's only when you get injuries and only when you see City signing players for silly money. And I know they bought Gahey for cheap, but forget the transfer fee. It's everything else. It's the wage. It's the package. It's
same as Haaland, isn't it? I know that's completely different, but he was only 50 million plus everything else.
Yeah, and it's signing Semenyo for 60 million. It's signing Marmoush last year for, I don't know, probably a
60
similar
as well,
fee.
yeah.
Great. What are we supposed
what's
to
the
do
point?
here? What are we doing?
Perfect example of
Tottenham,
being a mid-table nothing club
Tottenham,
that we will finish above again for the 4th year in a row, able to gazump us on Gallagher just because.
Yeah, and it's not that we would have paid more than them for the player, but it's having the ability to just pay what you want for a player that you need. Spurs get an injury to a player for 3 months, boom, 40 million. We get an injury to a player,
George Hemmings.
yeah. So it's really difficult, and it enrages you more when we struggle or we lose a game, because you just think like, this wouldn't have happened if the rules weren't so silly. And just the big thing for me, like the rules are the rules. These clubs had 10, 20 years to build themselves up to what they are now. We just don't have that capacity because the ladder's been pulled up. The ladder's been pulled up. Like, that's the annoying. And I think outside, everyone outside is like, yeah, but you pay too much money for these players and your wage is high. Shut up. Like, City's wage to revenue is like over 100% or something ridiculous. Like some time ago when they were building to become a super club. We simply can't do that because inflation. The rules haven't caught up with inflation, which is a very simple way of saying that times have changed, but the rules haven't caught up with that, and we are essentially, being locked out of this ability to spend money.
Yeah, it makes it all just feel completely futile.
And we're debt free.
I know, but I can't summon the energy up to talk about the financial rules.
I just get off my chest because it's just I just feel like at some point I don't know how it happens, but we're shouting at a cloud almost, because it's not going to change, because you have 6 very powerful clubs in the Premier League who, let's get it right, well, not all of them, but some of them are the reason why the Premier League is so big, because they have big fan bases and it's attractive to watch, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I do think clubs like ours, Newcastle, others as well, at what point do we essentially just club together and say, what's going on here? Like, this is not very, it's fun because we're doing well. But if we didn't have Unai Emery, it wouldn't be very fun.
All right, let's move on. This one's from Simon Dawkins, Bodymore Heath electricity bill.
What?
Just don't question it. We all know hindsight is a wonderful thing, but do we think that there could be a scenario where we're looking back at the end of the season and cursing the decision to play Kamara against Tottenham in the FA Cup? For context, I'm 29 and Villa have last won a trophy 3 months before I was born, so I'm as desperate as anyone to see Villa lift silverware. However, I feel we have a better chance of winning the Europa League than the FA Cup, and I really do question the decision to play Kamara in that game. It's not good to lose anyone to injury, but Kamara is literally irreplaceable in the Villa side. I'm absolutely petrified if he's out long term. Now, as again of recording at 11:30 on Monday morning, there's still no announcement on Kamara's injury. Maybe if you're listening to this on Wednesday morning, maybe there has been. If it's a couple of weeks, sound. If it's a couple of months, bad. I agree. I said before the Spurs game, and obviously after, Kamara should have been at home with his slippers on, playing chess or whatever, doing something relaxing, having the night off, like a cup of tea. Don't worry about it.
What a night.
Yeah, keep it steady, mate. And obviously, post-game, that is completely everybody's thoughts. Of course, we should have left him at home because look what's happened. It's just so frustrating. And I really am hopeful that it isn't as bad as they think. And we said, didn't we, last week, wait for the swelling to go down and then they'll assess it. And we thought, well, surely it can only, if it's 3 weeks and the swelling comes down, it can only get less than 3 weeks, surely. Like, if there was something bad there, they'd know by now.
No,
here we are a week later, still none the wiser, which is...
they've... I mean, I could give an update now, but then just say things can change. But as we record now, he's still getting some assessments, and they're due to know more this week, Villa. But
I'm sure that doesn't bode well, does it? Even just the fact that that's happening.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But we've been in this position before with Kamara, and we've again, like 2 seasons ago, got over the line and missed him, but not to a point where we were. I don't know how to explain. We can still win the Europa League and finish in the top 4 without Kamara. We can. So. Yeah, it would be a blow. No, absolutely. But I'm not. Do you know what I mean? If it is a period of time, I'm not going to be questioning everything that's going to happen in the next year. Like, it'd be a shame, but move on. Like, crack on. We've got some top midfielders still. I think it'd then be up to Onana to stay fit for the rest of the season, please. And for Bogart to step up a bit more. And I think we'll be all right. I do. But yeah, it's obviously the frustrating one. And I totally agree. I don't think he should have played against Tottenham. I think we said in the preview beforehand.
Yeah.
The only thing you'd say to that is, well, if you don't play Kamara, we probably shouldn't have played X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. What I would say is that, for example, Watkins didn't play and Malen played. Could you not have played someone else instead of Kamara? So I don't know. It's a frustrating one, but
That's
equally
done now anyway, isn't it?
But equally, it's done. No one, wanted it to happen. But at the same time, I think we could have avoided that risk.
Danielle Marlin's barber asks, when do we have a serious chat about Ollie Watkins? I'm a fan of his, but now that's 2 quality, younger players we have let go in order to keep him instead. I'm aware Marlin left for other reasons, not just minutes. He moans when he doesn't play. And complains about the atmosphere when he scores, but goes missing far too often in games, noticeably yesterday when we needed a big performance. Just wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, he didn't have the best game against Everton, like a few other players. I don't really know what we're supposed to say anymore. He's scored a similar amount of goals to what he scored in the last couple of seasons at this stage of the campaign. Hopefully he gets more and gets into double figures and reaches around 14 goals. Yeah, I don't know what to... like. Malen left because he didn't suit our style of play. We've been through that before, and I'm not going to go over it again. Duran left because that was a lot of money for a player who hasn't scored that many goals for Fenerbache. And in the Saudi Pro League, it was good money. I don't think we can kind of rewrite history here. Ollie Watkins has been one of the best Villa strikers we've had in the last 30 years. One of the best Premier League strikers in the last 4 or 5 years. Is he as good as he was a couple of years ago? Right now, no.
Yeah,
what we're supposed to do, we've already spoken about. We can't spend huge money on players. We simply cannot. Was it the right time to sell him last summer? You can make the argument. I would flip it and say, okay, when who are you going to sign instead of him? Genuinely, who would we have signed?
That's a little bit, but partly that isn't our job. But that's a little bit like when you have an underperforming manager, you're like, who are they going to get better? There is always someone out there. There would have been a...
It's valid, don't know. Genuinely, what we're going to do?
I don't know.
Who would we have signed?
And if we'd have signed somebody for 40 million and they'd scored as many goals as Watkins has now, people would be annoyed with that. Like, it's frustrating. You want your
Premier League
more goals and be more impactful.
Yeah, Premier League top scorers this season. Haaland, you're never going to sign him. No one was going to sign Igor Thiago after an ACL in the summer. Calvert-Lewin, I said we should have probably brought in as backup to Ollie Watkins. Yeah, Ekitike, we were never going to sign him. Daniel Welbeck, no one would have wanted to sign him. Mateta would have either been too expensive to get out of Crystal Palace at that time. I don't think that's a player we'd have gone for. Who else you got here? Joao Pedro, he went to Chelsea. Walter Marder was £70 million. And there's Ollie Watkins. That's your top scorers in the Premier League of strikers. But it's not as easy as just saying, sell Watkins for this money and bring in a player to score 10 goals. Who would have that player been? I'm not going to go through all the other leagues in the division, but we signed Evan Gesson, who scored, I think it was around double figures for Nice. Yeah, and I'm seeing comments that he's probably not good enough for the Championship. Like, it's not as easy as just picking a player and signing them. I'm not suggesting that Watkins is having a good season. I'm not, by his standards, is underperforming, and I'm sure he's aware of that. But equally, it's not as simple as just bringing in another player and them playing well. Maybe it would have happened, but it would have been a risk still. So, and can I just add, we are third in the Premier League. We're third in the Europa League. Watkins has played most of our games. He's not stinking the place out and not performing at all. We don't beat Spurs if you don't come off the bench and play well. We don't beat Brighton. That's already 6 points. I'm sure there's probably other games, and other people will say, yeah, but for these games, he didn't play well, and we could have got more points if another player played. Okay, and who's that player? I don't know. He's not in our squad. It wasn't Daniel Malen, because if it was, he would have been playing instead of Ollie Watkins, and he didn't, and he left the club because he knew that was not going to happen in the next months and years.
Well, I think we're all quick to praise Unai Emery, and if Unai Emery wants this, then I'm all for it until we suddenly decide, actually, no, I don't like that. And there'll be people that don't like Ollie Watkins that think, well, what's going on here? Unai Emery's picking him, and if he's good enough for Unai Emery, then he's good enough for me. And I know that's a cop-out answer, and there'll be people out there listening that hate Ollie Watkins who don't like that attitude. And of course we can replace him. We tried to replace him with Marcus Rashford. I get it. I don't think he'll be here next season, Ollie Watkins. I think it probably is time for change in the summer. Now, how much you get for him and who that player that replaces him, don't know. I'm not a scout. It's not my job.
And it's also a massive job. Whoever we bring in
to go and do that, but like this idea, like, oh, he's not a goal scorer. Well, he is, because he's our record goal scorer in the Premier League on, 80 odd or something? I don't know. He's clearly a goal scorer, and we've seen it time and time again. We talk about it now. Come back to us in March, and he's probably scored another 5 or 6, and we'll be up in the top 10 or so of the Premier League forwards. Because to be fair, there aren't many actual strikers on that list that are scoring a good amount of goals across the entire league, apart from
that's what I mean. I just read it out.
Couple. So if Ollie Watkins finishes on 12 to 15, I think that's about par for where he is at this point in his career. That's a decent enough return. If Villa finish third or win a trophy, and he's part of that, sound. Does that mean he's going to play for us for the next 5 years? Obviously not.
And Chelsea was the other game as well that we won. So 9 points that Ollie Watkins, I think, has won us, to be fair, this season.
So our buffer inside the Champions League places.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't work like that, but you know what I mean.
Does it not?
But like, it's not just those games, is it, that we're up here? But 9 points is
that's like, you can quantifiably say that without Watkins' 2 goals at Brighton, without his impact off the bench against Spurs, without his 2 goals at Chelsea, like, come on, we need to give some balance. He has not played overall very well compared to the level that we know he can play at this season. We know that. We agree. However, we can't just say, therefore, he should be binned off and he should have been sold. He should have been this, that, and the other. Again, there has to be what's the counter here? I go back to the players who, you read out the Premier League top scorers or whatever. It's a hard thing to do, scoring goals, but also we're judging Ollie Watkins off him scoring. It's 7 goals so far this season, yeah, and we're just over halfway. 22 games, so just over halfway. Yeah. If he gets 14 goals this season, I would wager every single season, I think we'd all take the Villa striker scoring 14 goals. Because that is usually about minimum for a team who wants to finish in the European positions. Obviously, we know Watkins can go higher, as he did last season, as he did the season before. But 14 goals, I take it. Because that means that you have a striker that's going to score goals through the season to a relatively regular period. And again, I would say, what player is going to guarantee you those goals, 14 plus 15 goals, to replace Watkins, that wouldn't cost the world, that would take similar or lower wages, and it wouldn't be
have cost the world. Voltemada, Sesko, Gyökeres, are they all doing brilliant for their respective clubs?
There you go. 70 million quid is Sesko, and you could say, well, if he played for Villa, he'd be scoring more goals. And yeah, you can say that, but it won't be, because we can't pay 70 million quid. It's very difficult for me to say, or to kind of be in the camp of what is life after Ollie Watkins. Let's find out. But equally, it's going to be a very difficult job to replace him, unless there's a big opportunity in the market and we don't want to say get lucky, but the right thing falls into place. If it's not that, and we have to essentially pick a striker to score our goals next season, you can talk about names, but does the deal suit? Does the player want to come to it? Like, there's so many different reasons why that's a big thing to do. It's just not as easy as I think some may think it is. Like, he's not playing well, but that doesn't mean that we'd be better off signing someone else in the summer. And would have we had the capacity to do it anyway? There's so many variables to it.
Okay, next question from Claire. I do think Malen out was the right move if someone has to go before we bring in an outright striker. We need someone who fits the system and don't have the luxury of extra players we can't afford. However, it seems a lot of the players we bring in need time to adjust, get loaned out, etc. Whereas Malen hops on a plane and scores before he's even through passport control. Can or will we bring in ready-to-go players that can help now? We need reinforcements ASAP. We are after last season's Rashford and Asensio in a perfect world, right? Players that come in straight away and win us football matches from the first appearance they play in. That is not easy to find those players. We will wait until deadline day to hope to find those players. Perhaps one of them is Tammy Abraham. Maybe he does come in and he wins us the game against Brentford or Leeds or Wolves or whatever it is. And we, Tammy, brilliant, happy days. He's brought us in 9 points already. Fantastic signing. That's what we need. Maggio isn't going to be that player. Alisson probably not going to be that player. Gesson in the summer wasn't that player. Elliott wasn't that player. Sancho wasn't that player. There has been transfer misses, and we've spoken about them on the podcast last week. The next couple, literally maybe 2 players, 3 players, whoever it is in January and into the summer, have to be hits. And they have to be hits now, not hits in 2 or 3 years, not hits on the balance sheet because we flip them for a profit, hits on the football pitch that win Villa football matches. That has to happen next week.
Just quickly on Malen, I do think, like letting him go, I'm all right with that. But you're always going to run a risk, aren't you, to do that? I'm not saying do it before the Everton game, but do it before you've got that replacement lined up. I'd presumed that Villa had been somewhere down that line with the Tammy deal, having let him go. Clearly, that hasn't been the case, and I think that's a mistake. I'm not too sure why we would let him go. I mean, there must be a reason, but to let him go without having Tammy nearly wrapped up, it seems like it's a huge risk, and one that, put it this way, if Malen was on the pitch yesterday, we'd have a better chance of winning. The fact that Malen was in Rome doesn't mean that we lost the game, but we'd be stronger. So why take the risk, essentially? And then you got Fenerbahce and Newcastle as well. So there's no guarantee anything happens, but hopefully it does. So we're recording this before midday on Monday. But yeah, the players we recruit, it's really important. I mean, there could be a world where if Tammy was to join and plays well, maybe he steps into Watkins' shoes and is the first choice, and Watkins has a new career, and Maggio at the age of 18 manages to kind of play ahead of his years. But that seems kind of like, I don't know, I say wishful thinking. I want Watkins to score as many goals as he possibly can, for as long as he can for Villa. I'm just talking about a situation where we know with Villa are in the rules. The summer will just be a very interesting summer. So I'll just leave it at that. We know what we need to do in any transfer window. You need to recruit properly and, in Villa's case, make money. So let's see what happens in the summer. That'll be interesting. But in January, we know what we need now. We need a forward. We need bodies. But equally, like we've said before, I don't want to just stock players and then have a problem in the summer of actually, we don't need that player. We've done that a few times, I think, now. Quite quickly. Harvey Elliott, not sure we want him anymore. Malen, after a year, he goes. Diaby, relatively different, but still didn't quite fit the structure, Emery said. And he goes after a year. We've had a few of those lads. I would not be surprised if in the summer he probably moved on, because he's at the moment not good enough for Villa. Yeah. So that's happened too many occasions now.
Yeah, agreed. You mentioned about January window. What does it look like? Dan K asks exactly that. What does a successful window look like for Villa? For me, the club and me would be happy to part ways with Martinez if a suitable replacement can be brought in. Something has been off since the summer saga. Obviously, an attacker will be coming in after Malen, and I'd hope at least one more. A lack of pace is still a glaring issue. On a one-in, one-out policy, not sure who they'd be willing to sacrifice. My guess would be Buendia, showing flashes of quality, but hasn't got the dynamism to be consistently good. The one-in, one-out thing of letting Malen go, you're right. Maybe Villa did think they were going to sign a player, Tammy Abraham or whoever, quicker than they have, which as of Monday morning, they still haven't. And that's a problem if that's the case. Something's fallen through somewhere, or something wasn't as far down the line as they thought, and that does feel like a mistake. But the chat about Marlon's wages and having to have a positive transfer spend and a wage spend and all that kind of stuff, the idea of someone having to go first, I get that. Now, if Malen goes Thursday and we sign out Abraham Friday, fine, happy days. And he can play against Everton, perfect. And if that's what they thought was going to happen and didn't, that's a blow, and probably something maybe they can't quite account for. What I also said about Everton specifically was if they knew Malen was on the way to Roma but hadn't quite yet got over the line with the deal, he perhaps wouldn't have played anyway, because you risk him getting injured and Roma shutting down the deal, and Villa can't do any business in January then. Because if Malen is the sacrificial lamb that allows us to spend a bit of money and he gets injured playing against Everton, but yeah, we win the game because Malen scores, brilliant, but he also got injured and now we can't sell him, so we can't sign anybody at all, we're back in a pickle. So I understand why they did it, and maybe there was some frustration that they've not been able to get somebody in yet. If they still don't get somebody in before Newcastle, that's Villa's fault. Obviously, for Fenerbahce, a new player can't play anyway, so kind of forget that for the moment. But to not have a striker replacement for Newcastle would be, what's the word, like a dereliction of Villa's duty to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's on them. There's no complaints to be had there about, like, oh yeah, PSR this and agents. No, it's on Villa to get somebody in, and they haven't.
Yeah, and I think that's now. I don't see why you would let Malen go without having that replacement ready. And I will say it again, I'm happy with Malen going. We have to replace him and have that replacement lined up now, unless there's a genuine reason why he had to go at that point. Maybe Roma were willing to pull the plug and we're going to go for someone else. And we thought, well, you know what, we could do with that 20 plus million in the summer. Maybe that's the reason. If so, then I'd understand it more. Just going back to who asked the question, sorry?
Dan K.
Dan, back to what he said at the start about what does the window look like. I don't think this window had to be about wholesale changes at all. Just because we lost to Everton, it's very easy to quickly think like, we need more of that. We've won so many games this year. we've been such a impressive team in Europe, one of the best in Europe for the last 3 years. Now is not the time to sort of rewrite that period of time and think that we need something that we don't. Injuries have obviously, not ideal. But at the same time, like we talk about Buendia, I'm not saying Buendia is going to be. We've obviously had a question in the last Q&A about do we underrate him too much and all those different things. I'm just in the middle with it. I think he's had a fantastic season, and I see no reason right now why selling him would be positive. Like I don't put him as a starting player in our best team. I don't. But equally, like we spoke about Watkins, he's won us points in the Europa League and the Premier League, made key impacts in different games. Spurs away, Arsenal at home, won us points. He's done more than I thought he would. And for that reason, keep Buendia. Why get rid of him? I don't see the purpose of letting him go. In the summer, that's a different conversation because then you want to reshape your squad a little bit. I said there, Martinez could go, Watkins could go. Maybe there's a situation where Buendia would want to do something else and we're happy to cash in because his age and his contract. Okay. There's other players in the team who have question marks over how are we going to deal with Rodgers when no doubt bids come in? Are we happy to accept this amount of money or not for sale at all? And these players are for sale instead of them. That's how we make them. Let's see what happens in the summer. But January now is not the time to be thinking about, okay, these 4 players, if we accept, let's just revamp certain areas if needed. And there's not many of them for me. It was always for me bringing a new centre forward, absolutely, to give Watkins competition and take the load off him. But apart from that, I don't see many weaknesses here. I would like to see the right winger come in. Alisson, maybe he makes a step up. Let's see on that one. But apart from that, I'm okay. As I said, maybe midfielder on loan if injuries are long term. But aside from that, I don't think we need to be pressing any panic buttons.
There's a comment who's come in just as I said what I said about not wanting to get Malen injured on the YouTube from last night from Julian, saying Semenyo didn't go to Man City until Bournemouth were ready to say okay. So that stuff about Malen not playing in case he got injured doesn't stack up. And firstly, that Semenyo deal to Man City, it doesn't usually happen like that. We'll sell him to you, but wanted to play the next couple of games first against big clubs at home. We need him for those games, so we'll sell him to you, but give us another week. Bournemouth feel more able to take that risk maybe, but if Villa's whole transfer strategy in January relies on Malen leaving and he does get injured against Everton, there is no transfer strategy then. If it's as simple as that, then they couldn't have afforded to let Malen play and potentially get injured if it means scuppering your whole business. But yeah, obviously, ideal world, they just said, oh yeah, we'll do the deal, but let's wait till Tuesday. Well, when Roma say, okay, we don't want to do the deal then what?
I'd be surprised if that's an injury. Like, he wouldn't have started against Everton. He would have probably started against Fenerbache, to be fair. But what I'm trying to say is that I can't see that being like a big thing. I think on Villa's part, it's however you kind of put it, it's a mistake to not have a player nearly through the door. If it's only one game that they miss, which is Everton, sorry, if we're only without that player for Everton, then okay, and you bring in Tammy for Fenerbahce, I get it a bit more. Tammy obviously can't play against Fenerbahce, but then Newcastle. Either way, I think it's a mistake on their part. For the reasons why they did it, I'm not totally sure, so we'll give them a bit of leeway. But the facts are we've let a forward go before having another one through the door.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. A couple of questions left from some guy called Max Stokes. Not sure if I've heard of him before. What's John's plans for Turkey? Is he being forced to get on the buses with us lot 5 hours before kick-off? Probably not. Enjoy those nice kebabs in the posh seats, you jammy bird. More than welcome to join the Villa on Tour lads on Thursday morning, however, for a spot of sightseeing. That's a nice offer for Max. Have you got plans? What's your plans for Turkey this week then? It's the final European away game in the league phase.
Istanbul's massive.
Yeah, is it?
I've underestimated the whole lot. So I usually stay in and around the stadium because of.
You normally stay in another country.
Yeah. I usually I'm usually based around the ground because it's for work perspective, just easy. But then, like, for example, the Fenerbahce press conference, the home press conference, it's based in their training ground, which is nearly 45 minutes drive away from where the stadium is. It's the other side of town. Like, it's not, you don't go through it. So I don't know if I'm going to see much of Istanbul, obviously with work commitments and whatnot as well. So yeah, I'd love to join Max and the boys before the game, but we'll see. We'll see what I can do. It's I'm not sure. I'm obviously looking forward to it, but I prefer everything being sort of close knit and tight, so you can walk to places and you can do your different bits and see the fans and see your friends and whatnot. But yeah, doing the job I do, it's made harder when you're in Istanbul.
No, I weep for you, John.
My heart goes out. Yeah.
It gives us a nice sort of segue to talk about the game.
Just had something back from UEFA that have confirmed to me that Jhon Duran can play.
Oh, really? What happened there then?
Okay, I'll read out what they've told me. Kindly be informed that Fenerbahce did lodge an appeal, and the appeals board reduced the original 2-match suspension to 1 match. This decision was notified on 15 Jan. This is also reflected, blah, 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 where it's noted that the player is eligible. So essentially, they've appealed the ban and had
is eligible. Did you say?
Yes, sorry, is it? Yeah,
sounded like is illegible.
Yeah, it is eligible. So yeah, not is ineligible, is eligible.
Okay, good.
I had to read it twice then, because that email would not have made sense.
Yeah. So we all know what happens there. Then Jhon Duran scores the winner. Obviously, that's the way these things work. Yeah, we can talk a little bit, I suppose, about the game. If Villa win this one and you're pretty much guaranteed top 2, then yeah, you kind of have to go your strongest side, I guess. But we said a few weeks ago that Villa could win this game and Salzburg and still not finish top 2 because the other teams win as well. That's absolutely perfectly feasible. And if you flog yourself to win those 2 games and lose to Everton, lose to Newcastle, lose to Brentford, at what cost have we had that trade-off? So is it a case of kind of accepting, not that you throw the game, because if you're going to throw one, it's that you try your best for Fenerbahce and maybe you throw Salzburg when it means nothing, right? Or means little. So do you try and play near enough your strongest team that's available, or do you have one eye on Newcastle?
To be honest, I think the injuries that we've had now, I think it impacts this Fenerbahce game a lot. I don't see how we can play it. As I said, I don't think playing 2 full-strength teams away to Fenerbahce, away to Newcastle, I think it's a massive ask. So I think there will probably be changes for Fenerbahce. Again, any time that I've asked Unai about top 2 and I've tried to drill it into him, Unai, please, we need the top 2. But he's always sort of said, like, well, it'd be a bonus. I think it's kind of done in a way that I think Go Ahead Eagles was that was our opportunity, and we've lost that match. If we'd drawn it, we'd be in a really good position because we would be in the top 2 by now. So yeah, I think that's where we probably blew it. And now, if we're in the top 2, I'd be saying play your strongest team against Fenerbahce.
Because if you win,
because you want those home ties. You want those home ties for the second legs. But now we're not in that position. It's a tall order. I'll just quickly remind people about Midtjylland and Lyon. So Midtjylland play Brann away. Brann beat Rangers at home, but Rangers were a basket case back then. Midtjylland also played Dinamo Zagreb at home in the final game. And Lyon, they play PAOK at home in the last match, and then Young Boys away. You never know, plastic pitch in that on Thursday. So you never know. The one thing I would say is that those games are very winnable for both teams. However, all 4 of those opponents, if that makes sense, they're both quite. They're in the or around the sort of bottom end of the qualification, if that makes sense. So they're going to have to probably win one of the games that they've got remaining. You would just suggest that they'd probably target winning the other match that they have that isn't Lyon and Midtjylland, if that makes sense. Yeah. I love a permutation, man, but that's what I'm grasping onto, that they are in need of points, those teams. They can't just rock up and
and if
lose,
we can make changes and still maybe get something against Fenerbahce, and then it is on that home game at Salzburg.
You just think top 2, we're probably going to have to win both.
Yeah, and then
if we get 4 points from those 2 games and finish in the top 2, I'd be very surprised. I mean, that would mean that Brann have beaten Midtjylland, which on the face of things sounds like, well, yeah, it's Brann Midtjylland, but Midtjylland are apparently quite good. So.
Yeah, things change though. Things change. We'll come back to this, I suppose. So clip that up and come back to it.
One more thing. If we are on the bracket of Midtjylland, with respect to Midtjylland, is that bad? Or am I being...
Well...
Am I being a bit, Premier League fan sort of thing?
But this kind of comes back to what we've said, or what you...
Oh, it's the cat. Oh. Here he is.
Hey! Oh, wow. Is that a sound effect, John, or was that real?
No, that was real.
This is kind of what we've said about the Europa League, or what you in particular have said, that if we are one of the favourites to go and win the competition, whoever we get, home or away, got to beat them.
No, I know. It's only that away from home I don't back us. I said I'd back us. Of course, I'd back us, but quite simply, playing Roma or Lyon or whoever away from home second, I don't want to do that. I want to play them at home second.
Yeah, but quaking in our boots about Midtjylland in the quarterfinal. Well, if we're going to win the competition, we've got to beat them.
Well, so, Midtjylland would be semi-final.
Okay.
Again, depending on where we finish, but yeah. No, you're right. Like, yeah, Midtjylland away second. It's not. We should be able to beat those teams.
How is it?
No, no. Lyon, I think, would feel like a Bernabeu for me, though. Blimey, my heart would be racing. I just think it's something that we could have avoided. That's all. It's not.
And that's not me saying the game will be easy, and I'm looking forward to it. It's just that if we think we're going to get to the final, well, we're going to have to beat some of these teams. So
yeah, it's just
trying to get on with it.
Doing it at home would have been.
We're the big Premier League team and all that.
Yeah, I just think we've blown a bit of an opportunity, but at the same time, it just decreases our chances in my head a little bit, not a lot. So
yeah. Okay, final question from Robbo.
Would you rather beat Newcastle or Fenerbahce? It's pretty easy, actually.
This isn't the final question from Robbo, although it is a would you rather, funnily enough. I would rather beat Newcastle. Quite easy decision.
I would as well. Which is, some people might be shocked at that, I don't know.
No, well, like you said, there's a chance we beat Fenerbahce and still don't finish top 2. You beat Newcastle, and that's a real boost, especially away from home. You've bounced back from Everton. Yeah, whatever has happened at Fenerbahce has happened. Let's say you've drawn the game. Then to go and beat Newcastle, another 3 points inside the top 5. Like I'd absolutely take that. You want to get back to winning ways as soon as possible, and Newcastle away is not a game I expect us to do that in. So you offer me the win now, I'd absolutely snap your hand off. Final question from Robbo is a would you rather. Following on from Emery's "we can't buy whoever we want, we are building something else" comment, and in the spirit of a would you rather, John, keep the same squad we have, guarantee top 4 and a place in the Europa League final, or in this window, I don't know if I get this, sell Mings, Cash, McGinn, Buendia and Watkins, so fan favourites, club long-time servants, and sign Gahey, Porro, Fernandes, Doku and Ekitike, right, which are all good players, right? And guarantee going into the final day of the season where a win would win you the league. What? Is it not just surely the second option? Am I being stupid here?
What?
It's obviously the second one, isn't it?
We actually guaranteed Champions League anyway.
Yeah. And if you beat Man City on the final day, you win the league, and you've signed Gahey, Fernandes, Doc.
With respect to Buendia, Fernandes is probably
Mings,
a better player.
McGinn, Buendia, Watkins. I like a lot of those players, but
is it? Are we presuming that we've broken all the rules and therefore we don't have Europe and the league will get stripped of us?
The only thing it doesn't mention is the Europa League. But all right, if you go to Man City and win, and there's a chance to win the league. Yeah, I'd rather that than.
I mean, I guess in a way though, we're taking it very seriously. Who was the question?
Robbo.
Technically, there's no guarantee that we win a trophy this season if you take the second option.
No, there is that. Yeah, you're either going to finish first or second, right?
Yeah. And you employ Bruno Fernandes.
Oh yeah, I mean, the downside after all.
Yeah.
I get it's the idea of like keeping what you've got and the sentiment of those players have been here a long time and have been kind of fan favourites.
Yeah, I mean, we genuinely
chance to win the league on the final day. Surely that's the right.
I know, but if you really deeped it, I think I probably would take the first one because simply because we'd have broken all the rules.
No,
we'd really push you away for off.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, unless we're getting like 200 million for all of those players, which we're not going to get.
The wages are crazy.
Is Ekitike going to want to leave Liverpool after 6 months? I don't see it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've spoken about this more than I thought we have, so maybe there is something in it, and maybe people completely disagree. And it is.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's like a question where, on the face of it, it's very easy, but Robbo's is included little elements that we haven't.
Yeah.
You got, but you're banned in Europe.
Yeah, have you thought about SCR?
Yeah, but you're totally going to be taken to court. Like, there's all sort of
a chance to win the league, but there's an asterisk next to it because you've broken all the rules. It only says get a place in the Europa League final, by the way. So there's no chance you win that either in the first.
No, true. Oh, mate, the way Robbo's done this, it's like
it's either right top 4 and Europa League runners up at least, or it's Premier League winners or Premier League runners up at least. And maybe the first one means you have finished third, and then this one means you finished second.
You know what? If this was I would genuinely take the first one because I know that we'd just be done by the by the rules. So I'll genuinely take the first one. Some madness.
We're so battered down by all the rules that even in a we don't want to bow down to them. Yeah. Thanks everyone for sending in your questions. There was a little 20-30 second video at the very start of this that I will have voice-overed as well for the audio listeners for how to get involved with the mailbag and where to find it. We look at it all the time, and it's used to spark off ideas for other episodes, and obviously brings in all of the questions for these shows as well. So that's where you can get in contact with us. There's no character limit. You can leave long ones, short ones. We try not to a varying amount of them each week, but some good selection there. So thanks everyone for getting involved. We might be back on Tuesday. Who knows? Claret and Brew might also be back this week, but we will certainly be back for a post-match show on Thursday night. That'll be me and Kendrick for that one. So stay tuned on whatever device platform you're listening to, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.